Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen, and for this AEW Dynasty 2026 prediction show here in the Juice Box for the very first time, other than the live program that we did for episode 200, the one, the only, Phil, we did meet at Dynasty last year, and now I've got you back here for this show. Welcome back into the Juice Box, brother.
It was absolutely awesome getting a chance to not only meet you at Dynasty last year, but it was also a great opportunity to be a part of the Juice Box 200th episode. Awesome stuff that we had there, excuse me. I cannot wait to dive into AEW Dynasty. We got a pretty tame Dynasty card in terms of the actual matches, in terms of like how many matches we have here. Hopefully everything goes well, and we actually have some great stuff on our hands compared to what happened last year with the ending of everything. But we are here. We're going to be talking about Dynasty, and I honestly cannot wait to get into it, man. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Phil. Yeah. Speaking of last year, I mean, I had a great time. It was cool I traveled out to Philly for the show. Got to meet you, and the show, as we'll talk about with this show, I'm sure is going to run super long. However, that show in Philly was Eastern Standard Time, so it was, well within almost midnight by the time things kind of started wrapping up. And I remember that being kind of frustrating. I walked back to my hotel and it was like 1:30 in the morning.
I had to drive back home.
Yeah, that's brutal. But here it's in Vancouver, which is the first AEW pay-per-view ever to take place in Vancouver. And it will be, so I believe that's West Coast time, Pacific time. Yeah. So yeah, that shouldn't be too bad for those out there. It'll start a little earlier for them as opposed to normal. But I've brought it up before. I have no problem with AEW or even WWE running shows, PLEs, pay-per-views, what have you, if they're on a Sunday, if it starts at a reasonable time. Right. I am conditioned that it's going to be a 4-hour show. That's great. Start at 7, especially if it's on Sunday. If it's on a Saturday, if it's on a Saturday, I really don't mind it being late. I mean, UFC used to do that. UFC would start at 10, right, and would go late. I mean, I know that things are different, but it's funny that WWE kind of has locked into the model of it's going to be Saturday unless it's an international show, which then it will be Sunday afternoon or even Saturday afternoon, or if it's Labor Day or Memorial Day weekend, they will run something on the Saturday, or they'll run it Sunday night without a Monday, work day for everybody. But right, AEW's been running these Sundays. That's two in a row for the AEW pay-per-view calendar running on Sunday. Now, next month, when we get Double or Nothing, that's right in their wheelhouse. Memorial Day weekend, that'll be on a Sunday, but it doesn't matter, and that'll be fantastic. Yeah. So this is actually the first AEW pay-per-view in Vancouver, third in Canada. Forbidden Door 2023 and last year's All Out were the Canadian pay-per-views that they've done thus far. Look, man, you said it. You brought it up. It's 9 matches. This is pretty concise. As of this recording, it is 9 with 8 on the main show, 1 on the pre-show. We don't know what happens with Collision by the time this airs, so there could be more stuff. We are tackling seemingly the most important stuff. And I will say maybe things did get a little rearranged due to the unfortunate injury of Kyle Fletcher. Seems like he'll be out a few months. It was on the call today with Tony, the media call or whatever, that he hopes that Kyle can be back by All In at Wembley. We'll see if that happens. Not sure the extent of the injury.
A little bit iffy with the way that kind of meniscus tears go, so we'll see. It's a pretty tough thing.
Do we know if it's a tear though? We just know it was a meniscus injury.
I heard it was a tear, but then again,
well, a tear is never good. I
a tear is
remember
definitely tough to get through, especially if you're trying to get to end of August. Like that's a
that's what I'm
little bit.
saying.
So
That's 4 months, give or take, to really have surgery and recover and then be in shape. And Kyle Fletcher is not a slouch where he's not going to be moving a lot in the ring. He's going to be needed at near 95 to 100% to get back in there.
it would
And
also
I remember,
depend on the grade of the tear, because if it
yes,
grade of the tear is the most important thing. If it's like kind of like the low tier kind of grade or whatever, then you can have the surgery, try to do some rehab along with that, and maybe there's a chance. But if it's like a grade 3 or like a high grade type of deal, I just feel like there would be no chance. But we'll see. There's got to be more information to come out rather than just what we have right now. So.
well, it's early on. It just happened. I would wager we'll get maybe a surgery picture or like an update from Kyle or Don Callis, at least on TV, something to that effect. I remember the first time I ever heard of a meniscus type thing, or maybe it was the patella, was when Mark Henry had that happen on Saturday Night's Main Event. Probably, I guess it was 20 years ago now. But that was when I was like, man, the knee injuries, it's not just like an ACL or an MCL. The knee can really get torn up in a certain way too.
Sure.
And when wrestlers are landing on their feet all the time, to try, especially in AEW, like reversals and all these things, that's got to put a lot of pressure on those joints. So I can't imagine trying to get back into the ring at a high level. But Kyle Fletcher is the protostar. He is not a normal athlete. So
right.
We'll wish him the best coming back. But go ahead.
And I was watching that episode of Collision where it happened. It was just it was a tag team match that it happened in, and obviously somebody was just jumping off the top rope, and Fletcher just landed wrong. So, I mean, things happen in the world of professional wrestling. One of the biggest injuries that I could recall when it comes down to like anything in that knee capsule was obviously the Seth Rollins injury back in Dublin. That was
on the house show, right?
Yeah, that was a triple whammy. He was facing Kane in like a tables match or something, and or some sort of like Extreme Rules stipulation, whatever. He just did a sunset flip powerbomb off the rope, and he just landed the wrong way toward both ACL, MCL, and meniscus. Still powerbombed Kane through a table, which is crazy, and finished the match. But it was right then and there. So that was like one of the biggest ones that I could remember. But all the best to Kyle. The guy's an absolute freak of nature, and he will definitely be missed. But overall, he'll get right back into the swing of things when he gets back here. So.
Absolutely, and it's funny that you brought up a house show injury, and then the Kyle Fletcher one was on an episode of TV. So there's an argument to be had for they need to have more house show matches because they'll be locked in and be more fresh and wrestling every week. But then there's the other side of, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing it every week because it's more wear and tear. Yet this was on a regular episode of TV, and it happened. So
yeah.
It can happen at any time. You don't want to just sit on the sidelines and never wrestle because you're afraid to get injured. Like the risks are real, as we all know from seeing it.
This ain't ballet, is like the whole cliche is said. So I mean,
yeah, and ballet seemingly is pretty tough on the body as well.
That's a pretty dangerous thing. So like, I mean, at the end of the day, stuff happens, and you just got to roll with the punches. So,
and we will roll right along with this card. As I said, with the Kyle Fletcher injury, though, it does open up two particular matches that we will discuss. But we'll get there. This is the one pre-show match thus far. I'm assuming there's going to be at least one more, if not two, because they love these 0 hours and tailgate brawls and all this stuff.
Right.
This is the women's conclusion to chaos in Canada, seemingly, with Alex Windsor taking on Marina Shafir. The dudes of those factions, United Empire and Death Riders, had their big collision on Dynamite Chaos in Canada this past week. A lot of fun to end the show, to build towards that. Later on, we'll see Ospreay and Mox for the Continental title, but these two women get the opening spot here, at least on the pre-show. Don't want to spend too much time on it, but I am interested. Just Phil, who do you just see coming out of this as the winner? Purely based on, it seems like the Death Riders are in an in-between spot where Mox they're kind of like baby faces when they need to be.
Right,
it's weird, but then Marina's always just like a dastardly heel. So it's an interesting dynamic. But go ahead.
It's one of the biggest gripes I have when it comes down to the Death Riders. Like normally when it comes down to John Moxley, they all seemingly to look like baby faces, but then whenever they're without him, they act and just portray as the heel group that they used to be or were or started out as or whatever. But this is a match between Alex Windsor and Marina Shafir. First of all, I have to say, Marina Shafir, she's been absolutely awesome in this kind of role. I think she's honestly found herself like quite a lot within this role. But there's something about Alex Windsor that I just continuously to love every single time that I do see her in the ring. I'm actually going to go with her to win this match. I think she ultimately gets the edge over Marina here in some way, shape, or form. And ultimately, I think she'll just need it more if there is going to be a bit more of a path for her for like the next few months to come. So I'm going to go with Alex on this one.
Yeah, I'm actually in agreement with you. Well, at least in the finish, I would prefer Marina to win. I really like her role as well. When she came in, you could have put anybody in there, and I'd been like, I don't know, okay, great, a woman that's like tough. It's that China role, and that can be a lot. It could be great. It could really go far. It can kind of be in the background and not important. She makes everything super important. I mean, John Moxley has his matches, and she's slapping him in the face to get ready. Like,
yeah,
I love that stuff. And
yeah.
She's a badass to be paired with the Death Rider. So I think it fits, and I think her role fits. But like you, I think there is something just tangible about Alex Windsor that I think probably Tony sees as well, Tony Khan, and can definitely see her, especially with Tony Storm out for an indeterminate amount of time. Seemingly, you might need some more characters, some baby faces to put in the spots, and this could be the start of a role she could go on. So I'm actually going to take Windsor to win with a roll up. I think it's going to be out of nowhere because I don't see Marina. Yeah. I don't see Marina getting like beat down and it being so conclusive. So like a quick sneak win, I think, for Alex Windsor to open up the show.
I can absolutely see that, just get her in that sneaky kind of pinfall scenario so that Marina can at least still look somewhat strong, even though like you have like her being the powerhouse that she is, she can power over Alex or whatever, and then all of a sudden she just gets that quick pinfall victory. I can see that for sure.
So let's get into the main card. 8 matches on tap for the main show. Let's begin with the women, as a matter of fact. Tekla defending her women's world title against Jamie Hayter. As I said, the women's roster, as stacked as it is, did just lose one of its mainstays that you could call upon every single week to be involved in something important in Toni Storm. But Tekla has been doing a great job, I feel, as champion, and I'd like to see her continue. It's very interesting, the dynamic for each title and each gender and each company, I think, could look at each individual one. And sometimes I think, with the AEW world title specifically for the men, I think a guy like MJF, I think a heel as champion is the best. I think they work best. That championship works best with a guy chasing it, a good guy chasing all the time. Then you look at something maybe in WWE, like the tag titles, like, the women's tag titles. You got to have 2 established stars. I feel like that's more important to then build the division. For the AEW women's world title, I think it serves best to have a heel, much like the men's world title, and have a lengthier reign, give an opportunity to certain stars to get a shot on TV, whether that's an eliminator or a pay-per-view match like this. I just think it's a nice showcase to build more stars is by having a dominant heel as champion. That being said, I think Tekla is going to retain the title here. As much as I love Jamie Hayter, I think this is just a stopgap for Tekla. I don't know how far she takes this, but until someone takes it off of her, I'm picking Tekla.
I am not taking the title off of Tekla until I see somebody worthy enough to take the title off of Tekla. That's how pretty much I am on board with Tekla as the women's world champion right now within this company. Ever since she came on into AEW, she has impressed the hell out of me. I did not know much about Tekla when she came on in. But then all of a sudden, as I got to know her and I got to look up some of her stuff, she really does impress me. And I think when she won the championship, when she did, it was a shock. It was a shock to me, at least. But I didn't mind it, mainly because obviously Tony Khan sees something in her. Otherwise, they would not have put the title on her in the first place. That's just where I kind of stood with that. And she's been doing some really good things with this championship ever since she has held it, or at least looked the part as a world champion when it comes down to the women's division. I think you can honestly see her go all the way to All In with this championship. I think you can realistically have people in her way enough to make it look like a credible threat so that she could possibly lose this thing. But I think she could make it to All In with this. Nothing against Jamie Hayter. I absolutely love her. I think Jamie Hayter has a different path for her on the road to All In or whatever. I'm going to say All In a lot in this program because I'm a long-term kind of booker like that. And I always kind of look towards the future with that kind of deal.
Well, see, and I like that, Phil, because I bring it up on this show. I bring it up on a lot of the shows that I do is this is a great thing. This is a great pay-per-view. This is a great match. That everything's great, but there is another show. There's another episode of TV the next week. There's another pay-per-view in a month. You can't stop. You can't celebrate. At the end of WrestleMania, everything's so amazing. They got to go back to Raw the next day. All In is amazing. They got another show to do, But it's nice having in April, it's to plan things out because in between now and All In, Double or Nothing is arguably just as big as All In, So it's cool to see where things stand now. And I like just bouncing off your opinion there. If you have Tekla as champion all the way to All In, who do they put in between? Who gets an opportunity? Does Tekla eat a pin from someone and then that person gets a shot? It just opens up a lot more doors, even with just the champion staying pat for 4 months. Some people might look at that as stagnant. I look at that as exciting because it backs the booking against the wall and says, well, you know who your champion's going to be and you know where you want to get to, but let's see if you can fill those pieces in. And we'll talk about that later with Will Ospreay. So continue.
Absolutely. Yeah. So where you want to be at the end goal, but how do we get there? Booking backwards is not always a bad thing. So that's what I ultimately want to address there. I think Tekla's going to win this thing. No doubt about it. I'm not going to completely harp on it for far too long. Jamie Hayter's great. I think there's just a better path for her, and we'll just see where Jamie goes from there. But Tekla, she's got to retain, and we'll see where she goes from there.
Speaking of people going places, Darby Allin can go somewhere if he wins this next match. Darby Allin takes on Andrade El Idolo with Don Callis, of course. Can't forget him. If Darby Allin wins, he will receive a future AEW World Title shot. Now, recently on Dynamite, he cut a promo saying, if I don't win this, if I don't get that shot, if I never win the AEW World Title, what is this all for? What's the glass for? What's the thumbtacks for? What is all this hell I'm putting myself through for if I don't climb another huge mountain and win this championship? And, last year he did climb Mount Everest and seemingly put himself in the background where he could have been in the hangman spot at All In. Who knows if that was the case? Now, it turned out to be great. We had a cowboy winning the world title in Texas. It was fantastic. But again, we're in April now. A lot of stuff has changed. Darby's back. Andrade's been on a roll. I have seen a lot of people say that they don't want to see Darby win. They don't think he's going to ever actually achieve this. And while I'll say that I think Andrade should keep up the momentum going forward, I personally think that Darby should get at least another world title match before he ever actually wins the world title, if that makes any sense. I don't see Darby winning the world title this year. I don't. Things could change, but I think Will Ospreay has a shot down the line to get the title, and then who knows throughout that year. But I think Darby could have it at some other point as long as he stays relatively healthy. But I think to keep him engaged with the main event scene, it would be beneficial to AEW and Tony Khan and whoever.
Absolutely.
To get Darby in a world title match to anchor a pay-per-view, whether that's Double or Nothing, because I think that would be cool to see. I think that fans would rally around a Darby and MJF world title match in New York. I think that'd be badass. It could be against Kenny.
That's what I have here.
So who knows where that all lies and ends up? But personally, I think Darby Allin should win this match purely based on the stipulation that's in here. I will also say this before I pass it to you, Phil. The fact that Andrade is on such a roll and seemingly has some babyface characteristics by taking time out to pose with a female fan. Some things that are like funny, and he could be more of a tweener instead of just being a heel, even though he's with Don Callis, makes me think maybe Don Callis accidentally tries to get involved, but accidentally costs Andrade, and we see a little bit of a turn for Andrade getting out of that family. I say Darby Allin wins. Wouldn't be shocked if Andrade wins. What say you, Phil?
I think, well, first of all, when it comes down to this, Darby Allin, to me, is going to be the winner, but it's not going to be, in a, like, everything that's going to happen with Andrade here is all going to be because of the Don Callis family, and I do believe in one way, shape, or form, at some point down the line, Andrade will no longer be a part of the Don Callis family and the 99 other members that they have in that group. At the end of the day, it's kind of like a little bit of a running joke that I have with that. But Don Callis has had a little bit of an issue lately with some of the big members of the Don Callis family. You obviously got the whole Konosuke and Okada thing. You got everything that's happening with Andrade. Andrade doesn't even he didn't even really want to be in this match, essentially, because everything with the hit on Darby Allin from MJF, he doesn't want to do MJF's bidding. And that's basically what this whole entire thing was about. And now that we have this match, Darby Allin getting the victory here over Andrade, even though Andrade has been, and honestly, probably like the best, like, kind of like career trajectory that he's been on in quite some time. Andrade's not going to lose anything in this quote-unquote loss per se, because we have this storyline going on with him and the rest of the Don Callis family and whatever path that he is going to be taking after the family is said and done. Now, Darby Allin, to me, that future world title shot being at Double or Nothing is the perfect destination for me, because those two in MJF and Darby Allin, two of the quote original pillars of AEW, and obviously Double or Nothing for All In was a thing, was one of the huge major big four pay-per-views of this company. I think the match happening in New York at All In, or not at All In, at Double or Nothing, would just be a great way to just get Darby Allin staying within the mix of the world title, but not have him win the world championship. It's a good, solid thing, and Darby Allin gets the job done and gets the win over Andrade.
Yeah, I think that having Darby in a world title match, but just not getting it, just being MJF can cheat. Darby can stay strong and not get to that top of the mountain just yet. And with Andrade, yeah, I think you could begin to fray the Don Callis integration with him. We could both be wrong, and Andrade could just mow through him and go against MJF. I wouldn't mind it either, but that's where the interesting part is. If Andrade were to win, if it's MJF and Andrade, I think Andrade almost by nature becomes a babyface and has to get out of the Don Callis family, or tells Don, hey, I don't need you. If it's Kenny versus Andrade, that sets up perfectly with the Don Callis thing, and Andrade would definitely still be involved with that. So there's a lot of moving pieces. I don't know, the main event we'll talk about in a bit, but that's going to hinge a lot. Of course, it's the world title, for God's sake. Yeah. That could be such a huge hinge point of where things end up, just based on who walks out, because the matchups are pretty different, vastly different, with a babyface as champion or MJF still as world champion. So let's get into another title. Well, this is a title match instead of a title opportunity. This is the tag team variety. AEW World Tag Titles, Cope and Cage Challenge FTR. This is, I guess, a dream match. This is, man, am I crazy? Is this the first time Cope and Cage have tagged since they stopped tagging back in what, 01?
I feel like this would have to be
because they've done some things together and reunions and maybe like a one-off, but some feuds that they've helped each other with. But I think this is the first time they've actually wrestled together. And I want to say it says 14 years was the first at Forbidden Door was the first time that they had wrestled together since in 14 years that they had done it. So now we get to do it again in Canada.
What happened at Forbidden? There was a match between Forbidden Door last year, right? I thought
that's what I'm saying. Forbidden Door last year.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I looked it up. Yeah, I was confused.
I was looking it up too because I had to figure that out myself.
It said Kill Switch and Kip Sabian, I think.
Oh yeah.
Kill Switch was in Kip. Yeah, so that's where we are with those two guys.
Forbidden Door 25 that they've teamed up.
Right, but I'm saying like now this is like them really being a tag team, like full-fledged team,
right? Yeah.
Really going for it, and the elephant in the room is the Young Bucks. They also have a tag match later on in the show. Now, whether they get involved in this, I don't know. I just want the year to play out with either at least a ladder match between the three teams, or a ladder match between the two, or a triple threat between the three, and then an eventual ladder match between the three. Squeeze as much juice as you can when you have these 6 guys available, healthy, and on your roster. And I'm not saying FTR is old. The Young Bucks aren't old. Cope and Cage aren't young. And they've had their share of injuries recently. So you want to make sure you strike while the iron's hot. In this match, Cope and Cage have been out for vengeance. Christian's been unhinged, as he always is. Cope is more locked in on winning the titles. But to me, I either can see FTR kind of sneaking a win and it being, very frustrating that they can't just get over the top Cope and Cage and then maybe challenge them for one final match. But to me, I do think this is Cope and Cage's moment to win the AEW World Titles in Canada. How awesome would that be? And that would make them even more decorated as a tag team. I'm just looking forward to it. And I'm curious to see the gear. I'm curious to see if they match anything, if their theme songs sync up, something. But I'm looking forward to this one. Big fan of, Edge and Christian for a long time. So to see these guys in another company in their twilight of their career getting a huge opportunity like this, I absolutely love it. And FTR is the perfect partner in the ring for them. So I pick Cope and Cage. What say you?
I pick Cope and Cage as well. We're continuing on with the trend here. I think they're just going to go with the sentimental, like hometown victory type of deal. And we just get new tag team champions at the end of all of this. And obviously, we all saw what happened on Dynamite. They were laid out by FTR. Stoke hit probably one of the funniest spears in all of history that night. And I just got a good chuckle out of that, just seeing Stokely hit that spear. And at the end of the day, I think they just go with the hot hand. They go with Cope and Cage to win the tag team titles here. I think ultimately what it could lead to, because the Young Bucks are still so involved in the tag team title hunt. Obviously, they're competing later on in the night, but I think we could possibly even see maybe a Cope and Cage versus Young Bucks thing at Double or Nothing, which then could lead to that triple threat tag or the triple threat TLC or just a ladder match that could happen at All In. You just got to keep all these 3 teams together, because to be completely honest and to be just, frank with everybody, these 3 teams are realistically the 3 teams that they're kind of just building the tag team titles around at this point. Obviously, there's a whole other bunch of tag teams in this division, but you got these 3 teams, and they're just being the sole focal point of these tag team titles for now, up until the point where we get to after All In is said and done. I could see a world where maybe they want to just try to capitalize on Copen Cage getting the big title victory at All In. But I think if you just get it done now at Dynasty, it's not really going to be that big, like a whole like the end all be all type of deal here. You get them the high crowd victory, and you just see where their reign takes them. So that's why I go with them.
And I normally don't do super long-term booking, but I would have Copen Cage win this match. I'd have FTR cost or like interrupt or just like disrupt the following match potentially at Double or Nothing if it's Bucks versus Copen Cage. And then I'd love ultimately to see the Young Bucks win the tag titles in a ladder match at All In. I think that would be a cool, like, I don't know how many passing of the torch moments you can have with a team that's been around for so long like the Young Bucks, but them winning a ladder match against the guys who really were at the forefront of that 3-team TLC era, I think would be pretty cool to see. So
yeah,
we'll see how that ends up.
Yeah, I would not mind it, honestly. You know, if they really want to try to like kind of rekindle that magic that they had back at TLC or TLC 2 or whatever, these are the best 3 teams that you could possibly ever realistically do it with. At this stage of the game, at the stage of the tag team division that you have right now for AEW, FTR, Copen Cage, and the Young Bucks, if you want to recreate that magic, these are the best 3 teams that I feel that they can do it with. So we'll see if it happens.
I agree. We'll see how it goes. We'll let it play out. We will also let play out a match for the AEW Continental Championship. This is Will Ospreay challenging Jon Moxley for the Continental title. And as we've talked about this entire show, seems like we're penciling Will Ospreay in to go for a bigger championship later this year. And because I am in a full agreement of that, it's not to say that he couldn't win this championship and then lose it to someone and what have you, but that seems just unnecessarily complicated and convoluted when he can lose this match, win the Owen Hart, and get a shot. And it's just like sometimes simple is the best.
Yes.
Like Sting comes into the company. Who should he team with? Oh, wait, another guy that is younger that has face paint and is like the same vibe. Like, let's just put them together. And it was the best thing they could do. Like, sometimes the easiest, simple option is the best option. So I think Mox is going to retain this championship in a great match. And because, I'm pretty sure these two have wrestled before, no?
I'm sure they have. I mean,
these guys, AEW has great matches with all these talents every single week. So I kind of get lost in the shuffle of who faced who when, and was it on pay-per-view? Was it on Collision? Was it on Rampage? I don't know. Like, some of these guys have had these matches I quite frankly can't keep track of. You're doing the due diligence right now.
From what I see now, no, not one-on-one at least.
Well,
this is their first one-on-one title match.
Color me shocked.
One-on-one match there, yeah.
I'll be looking forward to this then, even more so, and I think Jon Moxley will retain. Oh,
in AEW, what? Actually, apparently in 2022 they face off in New Japan. I never knew that.
Oh,
in AEW, this will be their first time, but in 2022, I guess they faced off. When was this match?
Well, that was before Will Ospreay became All Elite. So
when do you see it, Riot? When do you see it?
Oh, in Chicago. Okay, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. All right. Well, nevertheless, I'm still picking Jon Moxley to win this match. I think it's going to be a solid match. Mox is more than a pillar of AEW. I think he's, and I know Jericho coined the cornerstone, but Mox is the guy who has been there for anytime the ball has been fumbled, he's picked it up. Anytime there's been an injury, he's stepped in. Anytime there needs to be anything done at a high level, whether it's win the world title, lose the world title, do anything he can to make the company better, Mox has been there. And he's done that. And I think that he's going to make this match incredible, much with Will Ospreay the same. Will's first pay-per-view match since returning, if I'm not mistaken. And I hate to seem like a jinx. Let's just get through this match with everybody relatively unscathed, and we can move on to Double or Nothing. So, Phil, who you got in this one?
Before this match was even for the Continental Championship, I thought it was an easy Will Ospreay W. But then all of a sudden, when Will Ospreay wanted the Continental Championship on the line, because if the Continental title is on the line, no Death Rider interference. That's the whole reason why he wanted this championship on the line in the first place. Kind of became a whole little bit of a convoluted mess in my eyes, because realistically, Will Ospreay never even needed the Continental Championship. The Continental title wasn't even realistically the reason why Jon Moxley took him out, or why Will Ospreay wants the revenge in the first place. But, the match is for the title. I'm not upset at it now, considering everything that has happened. But like I said earlier, there's no reason for Ospreay to win this championship when there's so many other things that this man is going to be doing for the future of the company. Jon Moxley retains the Continental Championship. To be completely honest, I don't realistically think he should even be the Continental Champion either. But we move on, we move forward, and Jon Moxley gets the job done, and Will Ospreay moves on to bigger and better things.
And I think there's a healthy way to make that happen without either guy looking bad or overly matched. I think there's a definite way to get these things done. I'm not, AEW doesn't really rely on interference and whatnot, but yeah. I think it maybe in the main event world title, you could see something like that. And I could maybe see something like that in this Continental title match. I'm not sure what that is yet, though. Because like I said, if Ospreay is just trying to get the world title, he just has to win a tournament. He doesn't have to be on a big streak necessarily and have a bunch of big wins. And Mox is going in as champion, so he would be favored. And he's got the Death Riders. I know the United Empire will probably be out there, but I've got a feeling that we're going to see Jon Moxley retain this championship.
And here's the one thing more about this thing. If Will Ospreay does officially take the loss here in this match, first of all, he's not going to lose anything in this loss. He's still Will Ospreay. He's still going to be a huge focal point within this company. And if anything, if you do want to run this match back and you do want to get a win for Will Ospreay against somebody like Jon Moxley, run this back. Run this back in the Owen Hart tournament. Why not? If you want to get Will Ospreay on that chase for the world title, obviously we all know Jon Moxley's history with the world championship. I believe a 4-time AEW world champion at this point of his career. You can have him meet Jon Moxley in the tournament. It would not be for the Continental Championship at that point. You have Will Ospreay get a championship, get a win in the Owen Hart tournament to move on, so he can go after the world championship. I think there are many other ways that Will Ospreay can get a win over Jon Moxley without him having the Continental Championship attached to it. So if you want to run this back, you can within the tournament. If not, that's perfectly fine. You still got Will Ospreay and just path to the world title to look forward to. So this is not going to realistically mean anything in the loss for Will, as he has other plans.
I agree. There's always another show to rebound, and I like your idea of running it back in the Owen Hart. Get the match back for Ospreay from Mox as Ospreay continues the ascent to try to gain that World Heavyweight Championship. Let's talk about a title that does not have anybody as champion at the moment due to that unfortunate injury to Kyle Fletcher. We get one of my favorite match types, the Casino Gauntlet, this time for the vacant AEW TNT title. All we've got is Rush and Tommaso Ciampa. I'm going to make it short and sweet. I think Tommaso Ciampa should be the guy to win this championship. He had it. What was it? The first or second week he was there. Him and Briscoe had a couple of great matches, and then Fletcher gets it back in quick order, which I know a lot of people had a problem with.
12 days as champion. That was
12 days. So this is somewhat of a blessing in disguise, and I think you should take the opportunity to either give it to Ciampa, or if Mark Briscoe's in this, maybe he could win it, But either way, I think Ciampa could be the right move. I like him as champion. I like just this title being defended consistently on TV and having great matches. Ciampa, Briscoe, Fletcher really have brightened the division. And I love this match concept, and I'm looking forward to seeing another one whether, unfortunately how it got here, but take it what it is. The show must go on.
Absolutely. My top 2 picks, I'm going to go with Tommaso Ciampa to get the actual win and get the championship. But my top 2 picks would have easily been Tommaso Ciampa and Mark Briscoe. And to me, realistically, no matter who won in that kind of scenario, whether it would have been Mark Briscoe or Tommaso Ciampa, the other guy chasing the winner of that championship is still great for the TNT championship. Those 3 men, and Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe, and Ciampa, were the 3 main, no pun intended with Chris Jericho, cornerstones of that TNT championship for quite some time. Tommaso Ciampa, he had some solid stuff going on within that 12-day championship run that he had, up until the point when he did lose it. So, I think he just gets Sylvie back. I love that he actually called it Sylvie, dating back to the whole Goldie days at NXT. And we just get a proper TNT championship run with Tommaso Ciampa. And we see where things go down the line with him and that TNT championship run. But I definitely want to see a feud with Mark Briscoe continue if Ciampa gets the job done and wins that TNT title. So I'm going to go with him.
What are your thoughts on the Casino Gauntlet? You like that type of match?
I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think they ultimately, in my eyes, I think they kind of need to use it as a way. Like, I don't mind them using it as often as they do, but I think if they wanted to realistically keep that match special and keep that match as sacred as it possibly could be, because you don't know realistically who can come out at what spot or possible debuts or returns or anything like that within this thing. If you want to keep that special, like, not as many times over the course of the years that you could possibly do it in, like, keep it special. But overall, I love the match concept, and I think it's a really cool way to get people involved in either championship matches or just have a really fun match on the card. So overall, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think it's pretty innovative. I really like just the randomness of it, the abruptness that could happen if someone just wins immediately, like it's over. Like, there's elements of the Royal Rumble, there's elements to a gauntlet match. It's fascinating and it's chaotic. And I like stuff that's tough to predict, especially when we only know 2 of the competitors that are even in this thing. So yeah, I'm thinking Ciampa. I'm thinking maybe Mark Briscoe. If it's not any of those guys, hey, I'm here for a surprise. Let's see what you got up your sleeve. Now, I will spoil Collision for those who haven't seen it yet or whenever this airs.
I think Roosh had to have been the number 2 entrant, right? Because, I mean, you said Roosh. That probably could have happened on Collision.
Well, he's slated in here, but I want to spoil something else, that the AEW Trios Championships may or may not have changed hands.
Oh my God, they did it.
And because of that, I think that opens up for one Speedball Mike Bailey, who I could easily see winning the TNT title if he's in this match.
Yeah, that could realistically be a possibility. Wow. Okay. They did it. Yeah. Okay. Not bad.
They went for it. So I don't know.
I like the dogs. I know some people that just realistically don't, but I like what David Finlay brings to the table. Clark Connors, to me, has he opened my eyes in terms of like what he could possibly be for the future of AEW, and they did it. Okay, all right, we'll see how that reign goes as Trios champions. How do you feel about the Trios championships right now, man? I mean, the Trios titles realistically haven't been like at the forefront of everything. The Trios, when the Trios division was at its peak, at its red hot peak in the early days of AEW, like pretty much almost every single person in AEW was in a faction at that point. So you had so many trios going after the championship. Now it's kind of hard finding trios to either go after this championship or make this championship seem as important as it used to be. How do you feel about the state of these trios championships as of right now?
So I personally love the trios concept, the division, the titles. I think trios matches were really big in Shikara and PWG promotions that have really were the foundation of what AEW was
Right.
going to be, amongst other companies.
And keep in
that are
mind, I
obvious.
love the concept of the trios championships too. It's just
where
we are right now.
And that's where I'm going to get to of why I think it's maybe struggling at the moment. So, again, the foundation of AEW was built on having a trios division or having trios matches. Their 6-man tags are a lot of fun, especially when there's stakes, because we'd see 6-man tags on Raw all the time. And it was like, well, these are pointless. So let's do something that's maybe more innovative. And there have been championships like there used to be a 6-man tag championship back in NWA, so this is not out of the realm of normalcy. It's just not as often. When you also have the TNT, the Continental, the National, the Unified, the International, it's tough to make more time. There's only 4 hours, give or take, of AEW programming every week. Yeah. The women already have a tough time filling 1 or 2 spots of that every week. And the men have how many different championships now? And then the women have a set of tag titles now. I think if maybe 1 or 2 men's singles titles could be eliminated, or, even if, 2 men's singles titles were eliminated, I think you could not only have a trios title division that would thrive, I think you could also utilize it as an intergender division and really come up with some innovative teams to compete. Like, why wouldn't you want to see Roderick Strong and Marina Shafir and, someone, Kyle O'Reilly? Yeah. You get Red Dragon, but you get Marina, who is with Roddy in real life. Or you could do Juice Robinson, Tony Storm, and Orange Cassidy, and it could be Orange Juice. Like that. I don't know. There's some things that you could play with.
There's stuff that you can do. Yeah.
And it's just frustrating that there's just not enough time. There's plenty of wrestlers. There's plenty of opportunity. There's just not enough time, and there's too many titles that take up some of the time. So it's just in a tough spot right now.
Yeah. The one thing that I was ultimately hoping for when the Continental Championship, or not the Continental title, the Unified Championship, when it became a thing, when they were doing the internet, like they unified the International, I believe, with the Continental, and because that's what the whole Unified Championship thing was supposed to be about, I think, or whatever. When they were,
man, I'm just as confused as you. I couldn't say it any better.
That's what I thought it was. So then when I thought that they were going to unify the championship, I thought they were going to consolidate and technically let one retire in a sense, so that you can just have like the TNT and Unified Championship be like those two kind of singles championships within the company, so you can consolidate it and kind of lessen these championships, so that maybe you can have the trios championships kind of be a little bit more prominent in a role for AEW. Then all of a sudden, when the Unified Championship got lost and it got split again, we had 2 championships get split again and be presented on television. I'd be like, then what was the point of the Unified title? There's so many things. There's so many, first of all, championships in this company that you just see championships get lost in the sauce. And now you have a trios championship that honestly could be still relatively great for this company, but you just gotta find the time to get them in there, and sometimes you just realistically can't. You got the 4 hours, but 4 hours just seemingly sometimes isn't enough. So we'll see where it goes. But now we got the Dogs as the trios champions, and wow, okay. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. I know a friend of the show, Grumpy, has to be a big fan of that, considering he is a big Clark Connors fan. So shout out to those guys for winning the trios titles. But let's move into a non-title match. This is the other part of the Kyle Fletcher injury that takes a hit, where we now get seemingly like a dream tag match we never knew we needed. The Young Bucks take on Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. straight up tag match. However, this got to be a match doesn't matter because on Sunday, these four are going to tear the house down. And I think to maintain the Young Bucks momentum going into Double or Nothing to potentially intervene maybe later on in Dynasty, depending on where the matches are in that World Tag Title match, and to also continue the friction between Kazuchika Okada and the burgeoning babyface that is Konosuke Takeshita. I think you got to have the Young Bucks win this match, but damn it, I think it's going to be maybe match of the night. What say you, Phil?
I am actually finally gonna go the opposite way of you. I got the Don Callis family winning this one. Only because of the caveat that Don Callis laid out earlier on in the night on Dynamite. They said, look, all you guys gotta do is just work together for this one time. Work together this one time for Kyle Fletcher so that you guys can ultimately just get the job done. And then you guys can go fight it out, go try to get the championship off the other. That's perfectly fine with me. I think you get this match done. I think you honestly do a little bit of a tease for this match to happen at Double or Nothing. You have the match happen at Double or Nothing, but is that going to be the end all be all for the feud between Okada and Takeshita? No. You still do something between them at All In. And at All In, is finally going to be the nail in the coffin, finally going to be the time when Takeshita splits away from that Don Callis family. There are still a lot of time in order to make this happen. I understand it's kind of been boiling over for a very long time now with the Takeshita splitting away from the Don Callis family situation, but you get these two in the ring at the same time. No matter what is realistically going to be happening here, they're going to try to one-up each other in this tag team match, but they're going to try to stay together for as long as they can until it just all goes to blow, and they attack each other after the tag team match, or one of them walks out on the other, and we get the match at Double or Nothing to continue at All In. Excuse me. So I'm going to go with Don Callis family for this one.
And I like your logic and reasoning there. And I like that we could get Okada and Takeshita just in a one-on-one match at Double or Nothing. I mean, you want to load up that card even more, put those two guys head-to-head with Don Callis in a shark cage. I don't care. But that, that could be definitely the framework for the Takeshita exile as a babyface and getting out of the Don Callis family. It's funny, that's the second time we've brought up someone trying to leave the family of 99 to be a babyface, and maybe even both don't happen yet.
Yeah.
And maybe, it still might not even happen.
Right. Yeah. The thing is, like, I just think there's more meat on the bone in terms of getting Takeshita out of this family. I think ultimately what it could boil down to is you get that match at Double or Nothing. You don't have to have Takeshita win the championship right away at Double or Nothing. If he loses this match because of, let's say, a Don Callis interference, because he obviously kind of favored Okada before Takeshita even came on in here, that's the whole catalyst right there to get the championship staying on Okada. Takeshita finally has enough, turns on everybody, becomes that ultra mega babyface that everybody wants him to be. And then by the time we get to All In, everybody and their mother is going to want to see Takeshita win that championship at All In against Okada. And then once and if he does, then it's the best thing for him. He becomes the Continental Champion, and we rejoice as he finally got out of the Don Callis family after so many months of anticipation. So that's just where I see things going with that.
And I'd like to believe that. So we'll see what happens. And something else,
we realistically don't know.
We really don't. I mean, sometimes it's chalk and everything happens exactly how we think. Sometimes they throw a couple of curveballs at you, and Dynasty is, Revolution's one of their main shows, and we've got Double or Nothing as a main show. This is kind of that stopgap where who knows what's really going to happen. I remember last year we had that, what was that, triple threat of, who was it? Speedball,
Kenny, and Takeshita, I thought.
Was it
No,
them?
the Speedball, Kenny, and Ricochet.
Oh yeah, and we had Ospreay and Kevin Knight as well. Yeah, so
That was the Cup final. Owen Hart final. Actually, no,
or
wait, no,
quarterfinal, I think.
quarterfinal. Yes, it's on me.
Yes, some of the matches here, are just to get us a little bit further, and they haven't announced anything with the Owen yet. Maybe they'll have more of those matches on Dynamite as we get closer, but I'm assuming this thing's still happening because otherwise we've been predicting Will Ospreay getting this automatic world title shot for nothing. But
the tournament final happened last year in the main event of Double or Nothing. So last year, so they would have to get things going in order if they want to have that final be a part of Double or Nothing this year. So kind of gotta get that in gear.
Yeah, full gear, but that's in November. But what else is happening on this card before we get to the main event? The artist formerly known as Chris Jericho taking on Ricochet. 1-on-1. The build is random because Jericho just returned last week and Ricochet interrupted him the following week. But Ricochet is the perfect heel to kind of jumpstart whatever babyface-esque character Jericho's beginning with. I'm not going to rule out anything happening potentially heelish in the main event. We'll talk about that. But to have Jericho's first match back at AEW against a guy like Ricochet, who is easily made fun of, the bald chance and just all the stuff. Like, he's a perfect foil for a funny heel or for a funny babyface heel guy like Jericho who can just knock you down at any point, no matter what you are or what you're doing or how successful you are. And I think the match will deliver. I'm looking forward to seeing what Jericho looks like in the ring. He looks shredded. I'm curious to see what kind of gear he's wearing for this match because he's done the trunks, he's done the tights. He's in a lot better shape right now, so I don't know what he's going to do in regards to gear for this match. And I think Jericho's going to get the win, whether that be Lion Salt or what the hell's his finisher?
Judas Effect.
The Judas Effect. He's been out a long time.
It's been a year. It's been a year. So.
But I'm looking forward to the match, and I'm happy to see Jericho back. And how things seem to be, Jericho might end his career with AEW, and this would be a nice starting point to that potentially final contract. So, what say you, Phil?
It definitely looks like this could kind of be like the final, not the fair, I don't want to use the whole farewell tour lightly. But it could just be like that kind of final contract per se for like a Jericho in-ring career. This is going to be perfectly fine for a Jericho first in-ring return match. First of all, Ricochet is going to sell the hell out of anything that Jericho does. Ricochet is an easy heel, a perfect heel to get him in there with, to ultimately just get everything back in gear for his in-ring return. Jericho, he looks great, absolutely fantastic looking, but we'll see how he ultimately performs. And because they've been in Canada this entire week or entire time frame, realistically, how is Jericho going to be perceived in the States? We'll soon find out, because obviously things happened with the last time we saw Chris Jericho. People were not really too fond of Chris Jericho before he did leave. So we'll see how his reactions are when we get back to the States for AEW. But overall, this is going to be a perfectly fine match. This is a easy, just to get the ball rolling type of feeling back for Chris Jericho. And we'll see if anything kind of moves forward with this. I think ultimately, to me, I just feel like this could just be a one-off deal, just so that he can get the match, get the win, move on, and and do some bigger and better things. But who knows? They could still run this back or run this again if they really wanted to. But I think this is just a Jericho victory here, and we'll see what the future holds for the cornerstone of AEW, though he hasn't even realistically called himself that yet. So I feel like that's kind of more of a heelish type of thing. because if you're going to call yourself the cornerstone, being a babyface to me isn't really kind of something that I think should be kind of known for. So Jericho at some point I feel will be the heel that he ultimately I feel is best at. I feel like he's a better heel than he is a babyface, but we'll see where things go. I got Jericho with the win for sure.
Yeah, and to your point, the cornerstone thing, I wonder if it's just not happening yet because he wants to use a weapon, and it's like I don't know. I feel like there's going to be an allusion to a cornerstone in some way, like not a scepter or anything, where like you'd have like diamonds or something in it,
Right, yeah.
but something to the effect of that's why you're calling him that, because it has to be a heel tactic. And I think we'll talk about that for the next match. My last point, though,
listing is going to be very short-lived. This list that he came back with,
oh sure,
when he put Ricochet on the list, it's going to be a very short-lived type deal. I'm honestly surprised that he could actually use it, because I thought for sure they would have done something with the WWE and not like most likely copyright or trademark that.
If Jericho owns it, I think Jericho probably owns the list of
he
Jericho.
Had to have owned it, because there's no way he would have been able to use it. I feel like if it wasn't his.
He probably trademarked. You just made the list. He probably trademarked damn near everything about it, other than the list of Jericho.
A very short-lived thing, because that cornerstone is going to be that heel thing.
Well, and that would be very Jericho to do. Right. Y2AJ lasted 5 seconds. Certain things only last so long with Jericho.
I love that name, by the way.
He's very quick to reinvent himself, no matter what he's doing.
Absolutely.
And to your point with will the American audience welcome him with open arms? If he turns heel by the time he's there, no.
Right.
But I do think absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I think either way they will be singing his theme music because it's catchy. But let's talk main event. MJF, the Devil, taking on the God of professional wrestling, Kenneth Omega. AEW World Title on the line. To me, with the Andrade Darby thing, I could see this match going either way. And we both are looking ahead in the distance with Will Ospreay. I could see Will and Kenny in one final epic battle at Wembley. I also think Will is better served winning the world title off a heel that everybody hates so that it's the maximum amount of crowd reaction.
Right.
I also think we might see the heel turn of Jericho a mere 2 weeks from his return. And I think Jericho will cost his fellow Winnipeg warrior, Kenny Omega. And I think Jericho will cost that man the shot. And MJF, who has ties with Jericho with Le Debonair, I think MJF walks out of Vancouver, British Columbia as your AEW World Champion. And I wouldn't hate if it's Darby or Andrade, if MJF wins and retains, I'd love to see whoever wins that title. Well, Andrade's not number one contender. I guess that doesn't make sense. Yeah. But because isn't Swerve number one contender?
Technically, yes.
Right? Didn't he?
Well, no, because remember when Swerve and Kenny
he lost it to Kenny.
Oh my God! Thing. Yeah, when Swerve and Kenny had their match, it was for the number one contendership in EVP, and then Kenny Omega won, so he stayed on EVP, but became number one contender. So
forget the whole thing. So if Darby wins and MJF wins, I'd like to see Darby come out and look at MJF like,
dude,
you're.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you for these things, because sometimes when they put these stipulations out there, there's
too much shit on TV, dude. How am I supposed to keep track of 3 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Wednesday, another 3 hours on Friday, 2 hours on Saturday? If I want to watch TNA or NXT, there's my Tuesday and Thursday. By the time I get to the pay-per-view on Sunday, Phil, I'm all booked.
There's a reason why there's a whole thing called Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7. There's a pro wrestling show every single day of the goddamn week.
And look, as a fan, and I've always wanted wrestling to have this much coverage, it is consuming at times.
It's tough as hell when you are a content creator trying to actually keep involved in everything that you possibly can, trying to make sure that you are not completely biased, trying to cover one thing and not the other. But then all of a sudden you kind of lose track of things and then you just kind of go with the flow of it all. So it's tough. It's very tough having all these promotions going.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get it. It's an absolute mess in itself trying to keep everything in track. So I don't disagree with you for that.
What about the world title match? Do you disagree with Matt?
No, I think MJF retains here. I think MJF retains here. There's nothing against Kenny. I do not like. That's an interesting whole point with the Chris Jericho costing Kenny thing. If I didn't actually even realistically kind of see that coming, I don't know if you kind of have like some sort of plan for all in between those two. If that is kind of where you were thinking,
They could run something at Double or Nothing,
or move that for Double or Nothing too. Yeah. I always it's not that I forget about Double or Nothing, but you just kind of look towards All In. I'm sorry.
And we don't know when Forbidden Door is either. Yeah. And that would be June or July. And we don't if that's one of them, I don't know if there will even be a pay-per-view in the other month that Forbidden Door isn't in. So it's
Forbidden Door happened after All In last year, and that was in London. That was in
August though. That was at the end. All In was in July.
Yeah. That was at the end of August, and no, they're gonna have to figure out some pay-per-view arrangements. But yeah, I think MJF just retains here because it just makes the most sense right now in order to have MJF retain the championship. I honestly don't want to see that man lose that championship until there is somebody worthy enough, Will Ospreay, to take the championship off of him. Like, he has been kind of the sole reason as to why the uptick of AEW has been so frequent as of late. The ratings have been up. I don't realistically care about the ratings, but they have been. You can't realistically, technically ignore it. The attendance has been really good for them as of late. Like, just the overall perception of what AEW has been fantastic, considering MJF has been the world champion since he has won the dang titles. So I'm not taking this championship off of him. And it's kind of just simple as that. I don't realistically know what Kenny Omega does from here on out after this loss, but it's Kenny Omega. He's not going to realistically be involved in every single week-to-week television, especially with everything that's going to happen with him and his health. You'll want to use him sparingly. You'll want to use him in those special kind of situations. And maybe he goes away for a little bit again after this matchup is all said and done. But, I mean, MJF's retaining that championship. And honestly, I don't see any other reason why he should lose here up until the point where it's finally time for him to get that title off.
I agree. And I think that as long as the health is there, MJF should remain champion until you get that right guy to beat him. And I think Ospreay could be that guy. Now, they could swerve us all, and you get that Omega Ospreay one final major match at All In, kind of babyface versus babyface for that title, which I think everybody would love to see.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, I don't even think you need a bad guy to go against Will Ospreay in Wembley for Wembley to go 100% for Ospreay. So just having a good guy Kenny in there would really elevate both guys, and it wouldn't hurt the match at all having a face versus face. I know that dynamic sometimes is looked down upon, but it's worked in the past. It worked in '90 with Warrior Hogan, and if it worked back then, when everything was at a height of kayfabe and we're not getting access behind the curtain, I think that if it worked then, I think it's very doable now, especially when a lot of fans like everybody. Like, we generally respect everybody at this point, and we kind of just root our favorites on and maybe dislike some others just because it's part of the show, So,
and it would be the first time since 23 that they would have Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, and I feel like that would at least have to happen at some point down the line.
Yeah.
So,
especially with both their health. I mean, Ospreay having severe surgery, Omega having the diverticulitis thing. Like, again, strike while the iron's hot. These guys are both on your roster. They're both healthy right now.
Right.
let's get the match done, And look, if Omega and Osprey doesn't happen at All In, let it happen in the finals of the Owen. Let it happen. Like, there's so many huge matches that they could still get on the cards if it's not at Wembley. So I have faith that they could pull it off, to be fair, but
yeah,
never know. But wow. Well, we've done a lot. We've done an hour and change here talking AEW Dynasty. Hopefully the actual pay-per-view doesn't take 4 times as long as this particular show did, but I'm sure I will be feeling it on Monday morning for sure. So before we get to the conclusion here, just Phil, what are your thoughts just on the card as a whole? Like, what are you most looking forward to as we roll into Dynasty this Sunday?
I think they've done a really good job at, kind of formulating this card together. Obviously, the whole Young Buck and Okada and Takeshita match did kind of come out of nowhere, but it does have storyline implications just simply because of the Okada-Takeshita rivalry that's been brewing over the last couple of months. But overall, everything here has some solid storybook buildings to it. Even though it was kind of a short period from Revolution to Dynasty, they've done a really good job at pacing the build to this whole entire card. And now it's just up to AEW to do what they normally do best, and that is put on absolute banger matches for their pay-per-views. Their pay-per-views are unlike any other most of the time. Sometimes you do get a little bit of questionable decisions here and there, but overall, when it comes down to the pay-per-views and the look of what AEW pay-per-views can be, it's a solid show almost every single time that you have them. I've been to AEW pay-per-views before. I know you have as well. The atmospheres are always incredible to be a part of, and I feel like Vancouver is going to absolutely rock it when they get to that night on Sunday. So overall, solid stuff, and we'll see how the rest of the cookie crumbles, and we'll see where it all goes from there. So overall, solid stuff from what they did.
Yeah, man. Year to date, 2026, the ratings have been up. The TV episodes have been pretty solid week to week. When normally their pay-per-view is what AEW hinges its success mainly on. I know they tout success of the TV, but when both are hitting, that's double as that's great. It's a bonus to have your TV on fire, your pay-per-view still doing well, and I'm looking forward to it. Canadian crowd can be hit or miss, but you've got Cope and Cage there. You've got Kenny Omega. You got Jericho. You got a lot of Canadian representation there that I think will kind of hold things down. And I think the performances will also, put a lot of effort into making the crowd get up for this match or this pay-per-view. So I, for one, am very much looking forward to it, even though it'll take up all of my Sunday. But man, this has been fun, Phil. I last year ran India at Dynasty. It was cool to finally meet you, and it's always cool to meet other creators just out in the wild, just doing what we'd like to do and being fans of pro wrestling. And now this is your second time on the Juice Box. This one, an actual specific pod, not just coming in and hanging out with a gaggle of us for episode 200, which was a real fun time, and I appreciate that as well. Yeah. So let everybody know where they can find you and your programs and your streams and everything else about you, Phil.
Yeah, so I am on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Ouimette_. That's just for the spelling purposes because I know it's audio as well. PHILOUIMETTE_ so that you guys can find me on all those platforms there. I do live watch-alongs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. And I also do them for the pay-per-views for WWE PLEs and AEW pay-per-views. So you will find me over on YouTube and Twitch watching AEW Dynasty. And so, yeah, that'll be a very fun time. I'm going to be tired as all hell by the time that stream ends. But the chat and the community over here has been absolutely phenomenal. And they honestly get me through most of the Fridays that I have to go through for 3 hours of Friday Night SmackDown, considering it's a 3-hour product. And sometimes that just does not sit right with me. But overall, it's a solid time. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch. Ouimette _ is where you can find me. But the hub is most likely Twitter, because I live tweet basically everything when it comes down to these shows. And I post any kind of new video that I have and all of that on there. So follow me on to Twitter and you'll find everything that you need to know.
Man, Phil, you are a busy dude.
Trust
me, I can't imagine. Look, I like watching SmackDown, and especially when it's WrestleMania season, like, that it's culminating in something, but I cannot imagine doing a SmackDown in the middle of June when nothing's going on. So more power to you, brother.
The chat helps me get through these shows a lot, brother. It's a fun time over there in terms of the chat, but yeah, sometimes when shows are just not hitting, it's rough. It's rough, but especially when the whole Pat McAfee situation. But I ain't gonna get into that. I know you gotta end it here, and but I appreciate you having me on here, man. It's a great time. It was a great time on episode 200. And hopefully many more to come. And if all things go correctly to plan, I most likely will see hopefully a lot of people at Double or Nothing. I'm trying to plan on going to there, and we'll see how that all falls into place. But I appreciate you for having me on, man. Seriously.
Absolutely, man. You were there for episode 200. You're here for episode 207, AEW Dynasty 2026 predictions right here on the Juice Box at Juicy Steen, at Phil Ouimette _ wherever you listen to podcasts or watch on Twitch, YouTube, follow us on Twitter, all the good, the bad, and the ugly. Looking forward to this pay-per-view this weekend. Hopefully you guys enjoy this episode, and I will catch you guys next week with a lot. Considering we've got WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2. We've got a Main Event Maniacs episode coming in there. We might even have a Sip Series episode. So keep it tuned to the Juice Box and at Juicy Steen on Twitter and YouTube for all updates. I'll be posting them all there as we get really close to the granddaddy of them all. But for Phil, I'm Juice Springsteen, and this has been another edition of the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.